Okay. So again, we're in the middle of Nekiyus, cleansing ourselves. So he said, last time we started, he said that just like you need Nekiyus in action, so too you need Nekiyus in Midas. Right? And now he starts with the Midah of Gaiva. So we had discussion last week, what exactly is Gaiva, right? We juxtaposed what he says about Gaiva versus what he says about Anova. Anova, which is one of the later, right? One of the almost of the last Midah is the Midah of Anova, right? Mm-hmm. So clearly Anova is something very big and very special and very difficult to accomplish because it comes even after Chasidus, after all these things. So what's the difference between Gaiva and Anova? So over here he says by Gaiva, he says Klal Inyan HaGaiva. What's the idea of Gaiva? A person, machshiv. What's machshiv? Ascribes importance of himself in himself. And his heart, it seems to him that he deserves praise. Okay, that's how he defines Gaiva. Again, the definition of Gaiva is self-importance and expectations of praise. Right? So, which part is Gaiva? Which part is Gaiva? Where does Gaiva begin? Right? So we thought maybe Gaiva begins really when he thinks he deserves praise. But clearly recognizing your own significance shouldn't be Gaiva. What's the big deal? That should be just reality. Clearly he treats Gaiva as something that's not is misassessment, right? Inaccurate assessment, right? If I am just happens to be the best whatever it is tennis player in the world, so that's my accurate assessment. That's not Gaiva. I'm just the best player in the world. What's there to discuss, right? But then we turned, if you quickly again turn to Anova. If you turn to Anova, in the very beginning, this is chapter 22. Right? So in the first paragraph, it says, Hine klala Anova hu heyesa odem bilti machshiv atzma mishum tam sheyeh. What is Anova? When a person is not machshiv, right? And then, right? So the v'zeh hepach hagaiva mamash, and that's exactly the opposite of Gaiva. The opposite of Gaiva. Okay? So clearly, Gaiva begins when? As soon as a person is machshiv atzmai. So machshiv atzmai must not mean just an assessment, self-assessment. Machshiv means I ascribe, a self-importance. So what's the difference between a self-assessment and self-importance? So I'm assuming that, self-assessment is, I know I'm the best tennis player in the world, but I know that these gifts were given to me by Hakadosh Baruch Hu, right? I could have, if somebody else who had the same life experiences as me, and somebody who was in the same koiches as me, and would have accomplished the same thing, right? So that's just, but I don't walk around and it's like, ha ha ha, right? I am the best tennis player in the world. I'm just like, he's a good shoemaker. I'm a good tennis player. That's it. The shoemaker doesn't walk around with self-importance. A good tennis player doesn't have to walk around with self-importance. Each one of us is equally important or is equally unimportant, I guess. So that's, right? Good? Fine. So there's basically, so the other thing that we asked last time is when a person is not a Baal Gaiva, is he automatically an Anav? Or is there some kind of a more or less neutral stage? Right? So the answer is that we decided that there is a neutral stage. Because he does say over here, again, going back to wherever we were by Gaiva, right? He says, Klolei shel dover. This is Klolei shel dover. The summary of the matter. Kol echad min advarim hatovim sheba'olam. All the different good things in the world. Im yachshav ha'odam sheyishke boy. if a person thinks that he has a multitude of it, harehu misukun miyad litul b'shachas shel gaiva. So he is in danger to fall in the trap of gaiva. All right. So, right. So you could have certain things. Then you assess that you have those things in abundance, right? You're out of the ordinary abundance. So at that point you are in danger to fall into the trap of gaiva, but you haven't yet fallen into the trap of gaiva, right? But it's only acharei shekova adam b'libo ha'isa choshuv v'roy l'tila, when he feels that he says, then there's gaiva. Okay, that's that, right? I think we need like AC in here. So that's that. So now the next part, this to me is one of the most confusing parts. This is where pretty much where we stopped last time, right? Okay. So now what he's going to do is going to illustrate 5 expressions of gaiva. Okay? He's going to illustrate 5 expressions of gaiva. And these expressions of gaiva, I don't know, meaning again, back to my old questions again, I guess in a sense. Is Ramchal writing for a specific time in a specific place, or is he writing timeless, a timeless work of Torah? Meaning, what's the difference? Meaning, the difference is that when I lay out a map of something, let's say we're talking about let's even the whole structure of the book, right? The whole structure of the work is, there's Zrizus, there's the Hirus, there's Zrizus, there's Nekiyus, there's Frishus, etc. There are certain midas, right, that he creates, right? And that's the path to becoming a Kodesh, becoming a holy Jew, right? But maybe that's only a path in Talmudic times. Maybe today that's not the path. No, clearly he believes that this is a very timeless progression. Does that mean that everybody follows exactly identical path? No, because this is the map, this is the general map, but some people, not everybody is a square that fits into every map, but that is generally a map, right? On the other hand, certain things that are a problem of Nekiyus are a problem only in the 1700s when Ramchal lived, and maybe they're no longer a problem in 2022. Right, or they were never a problem in 1200s of the Ramban. I'm saying, right. So, where is Ramchal with Mesilas Yesharim? Is he writing a timeless piece of work, or is he specifically addressing his assessment of the world? So I'm always leaning to the idea that he's writing a timeless piece of work. But over here, it's very hard for me to say that, because he's going to illustrate. So again, if he tells me right now that there are 5, again, it doesn't say the word 5, but we're going to see that there are going to be 5. He's going to describe to you 5 expressions of gaiva. So I would assume that somehow gaiva expresses itself in 5 general ways. Okay? But these, I don't see any clear pattern. At least right now, we're going to discuss it now, but I don't see a clear pattern between these 5 levels of gaiva to say that it could have been another 5, another 10. I mean, there just happens to be that in these very weird descriptions. I wouldn't even use the descriptions that he's using. Maybe 1. Okay, but let's see. So let's see what he says over here. Okay, so let's just start something. Acharei shekova ha'odam b'liboy. And that's where we're going to start, yes? Ach acharei shekova ha'odam b'liboy. You have it? Yeah. So acharei shekova ha'odam b'liboy. However, after a person sets in his heart heyoisei chashuv, that he is important, v'roy l'hila, and he deserves tehila, and he deserves praise. Okay, just one more thing. I don't remember I already forgot if we discussed it last time. But the Ramchal wrote a play. We discussed the play last time?
Yeah.
So the Ramchal wrote a few plays. I'm familiar with this. Most people don't really read Ramchal's play, right? But the Ramchal wrote a play. I only read one of his plays, so I don't know the other plays. The Ramchal wrote a play called Yesharim Tehila. Okay? Meaning, just like Mesilas Yesharim. So Yesharim means the straight ones, the just ones. Tehila should deserve praise, right? In that book, different midos are portrayed as individuals. So there's a guy named Yashar, and there's a lady named Tehila, and the lady named Tehila is basically taken to be married, to be engaged to a guy named Rahav. Rahav means I don't know how to say boastfulness, like okay, whatever. Let's say boastfulness, right? So and eventually, so Yosher says, she should be mine and not right. So in other words, the simple basic idea is that the world is crooked and has this boastful appearance, and Tehila, which is really should be going to Yashrus, which is straight and square, and and without any frills, right? And but people get temporarily temporarily carried away by the frills and by the gold dust, right? So it's just ironic over here that, right? So there is a concept Yesharim Tehila, that Tehila, there is a concept called praise, and Yesharim deserve praise, right? Not the boastful ones, which usually get the praise because, and yet over here, we're denying, we're refusing the praise. This guy who doesn't want to be a gaiva, who's the yosher, right? Mesilas Yesharim, who's the yosher, who's the straight guy, he refuses to he doesn't feel like he deserves praise. So there is, I'm not sure again. I'm asking this as a question right now, meaning there is my personal map. In my personal map as a person who is yosher, I'm not interested in praise, right? But on the global scale, on the social scale, yosher, you deserve praise. You do deserve praise, or saying, or nobody deserves praise. Meaning, if gaiva is an inaccuracy, right? Because everything comes from Hashem, right? It's not me. It's God. It's God's gifts. I'm just So just like the janitor, nobody walks around and say, "Wow, janitor, amazing! You washed the floor today. Wow, you're so special. What an amazing person you are. You washed the floor, okay, right? So just because you're Moshe Rabbeinu, okay, Hashem made you into a Moshe Rabbeinu. I mean, of course, you also worked in yourself, but you only worked in yourself because Hashem gave you the koyach to be a Moshe Rabbeinu. Nobody else got the koyach to be a Moshe Rabbeinu. So yeah, right. So, but at the same time, Moshe Rabbeinu, wow, so there is there's a personal perspective, and then there is this global perspective, which don't seem to, what's the word? Seem to jive. Okay, so let's.
Does.
What?
It does. There is a concept of recognition. Sometimes a person doesn't want to be praised, so want to be recognized. So it's like.
Yeah, but that's like a light version of praise.
Right, but exactly. I'm saying.
I think every person wants to be recognized at some point, but there doesn't need to be a big speech. Now, we're plaque on the board.
Yeah, but why?
I don't know. It's satisfaction that what you're doing is just not for nothing. It's noticed.
But Hashem knows, right?
Yeah, so but that's the recognition is like small token, like Just not as recognized.
It's true,
Yeah, but
but
it's
it's the
the-
same.
you-
I agree
Yeah,
with
yeah,
you.
they can
I
put
agree
black
with you
on the
with
wall.
that sense.
It's just
that one of them, if anything, for me as an educator, the greatest reward is not the paycheck that I get, right? It's the recognition that I get that my
yeah. Someone says thank you.
But-
But
but
What
why?
is it-
But why is that? Where does that come from? What's the source of that need?
What does it
Because
Is that
you-
is it 100% all healthy, or is there some unhealthy foundation to it, or branches to it? I don't know.
I don't know. For me, you see, like, you work on something, someone recognize you did it. It's just you didn't do it for nothing. At least it was noticed. So okay, fine. So it wasn't totally a waste of. At least there was something.
I understand, but isn't that just an expression of the fact of your weakness, that you need somebody else to validate your significance?
Something about it.
I mean, God doesn't
it's
need
not-
it,
it's
but
not
God
wrong.
doesn't need it, right?
Right. Did Moshe Rabbeinu need it?
I'm saying God doesn't need you to say, "Wow, God, Hakadosh Baruch Hu, wow, did a good job with this world. Not bad, not bad. 6 days." It's ridiculous, right? It's ridiculous.
Okay.
I mean, we have to do that. We do have to recognize God,
Yeah.
but for our sake, so to speak. But and we assume that an infinite being, all-powerful being, doesn't care about somebody else's recognition. So, technically speaking, a human being who is trying to emulate God maybe also should not need. Again, we're not angels.
Right.
I know that if we don't get the recognition, you're right. It's very sometimes we lose all interest and
Yeah.
effort and drive,
Yeah.
and the result could be much worse. I understand, but that still maybe because we are imperfect beings and we can't pretend right away that we are angels and become, which is a lot of people make that mistake, that they try to shoot for a higher level that they don't deserve. But that's what I'm saying. Are we talking in the world of ideals, where we're discussing what the map should look like, and then we realize, okay, that's how the map should look like, and we should destroy all sense of gaiva from ourselves. Yeah, that's nice, but we're never going to be there, and so it's better for us to modulate our gaiva, to use it to our advantage.
Yeah.
But right now, I'm saying, how do we know where is the ideal and where is the not ideal, right? I'm not sure. Okay, so let's continue. All right. So fine. So okay. So again, now starting again. After a person convinces himself that he is a chashuv and he deserves praise, the outcome of such thought process may not be the same or universal for everybody. Many outcomes and different ones will emerge from it, and even complete opposite expressions. Gaiva can have totally varied and opposite expressions in different people. But they all stem from the same source, right? Again, deserving of praise. So also we'll see that Gaiva seems to be a problem relative to other humans, right? Again, deserving of praise, just that even those words by themselves, imply somebody else, right? I need somebody else to praise me, right? So Gaiva, in a certain sense, is a social ill, right? It's a social ill, meaning in a certain sense, if I'm the only person in the world, I'm the only person in the world, and I have nobody to be a balgaiva to, maybe there's no problem to it. I mean, there's no, because the whole idea of gaiva is I'm the best tennis player in the world, so I'm comparing myself to some other guy, and I'm better than him. and I'm him and him and him and him. I'm better than everybody else. But if I'm the only guy, I'm the only guy. I have no way to like almost evaluate myself because I have nobody else to compare myself to. Right? So Gaiva demands.
You was the only guy.
All right. So
Right,
Gaiva
but
demands.
If I'm the best player in the world, I'm comparing myself against the second place and the third place, and I realize that I'm better than that, then I should be rewarded for, look, I've gone the extra mile. I've gotten over the second guy and the third guy. Right? Now I know that all those extra hours, therefore I should be rewarded, and therefore I should get a medal, and everybody should look at me and put my picture on the wall, and now I know that I've done the extra work, that didn't go anywhere. If I'm such a talented tennis player, there's only one, I'm the only tennis player in the world, I don't know, did I do the extra work? I didn't do the extra work. There's nothing for me to really crave the reward for.
Yeah, you're the only one who was nobody else did it. I did it.
Right, I mean, the only person in the world.
Yeah, so
Somebody else
you
is
think
like
that
I don't know. Okay, I don't know. Anyways, moving on. So here's finally we get to these descriptions, like crazy descriptions. Let's see. Hine yimotze geya echad. Here's one type of a geya, of a gaiva, right? Sheyachshev b'liboy, that he considers in his heart. Shekevan shehu royal is hilas, that since he is deserving of praise, v'hu miyuchad, and he is unique, right? Miyuchad is unique. V'roshum b'maloso, and he is, I don't know how to translate that. He is like, I don't know. How do they translate? What's your fancy English?
He's a special and distinguished individual in his own estimation, and it therefore befits him to behave in a manner that is singular and distinguished.
Okay, that's later. Right, so Roshim Maloso, okay, they're translating it as distinguished. Okay, distinguished.
yeah, unique and distinguished in stature.
Right, but Roshim, right, Roshima is like imprint, and Mila is Mila, right? So Roshim Maloso, like he's, but the bottom line is, over here for this guy, I think the bottom line is going to be that he is unique. He feels that he's unique in his extraordinariness.
One of a kind.
Okay, right, one of a kind. Okay, so kafi machshavta. So then, therefore, so as a result of his uniqueness, loy gam ken sheisnai b'derech miyuchat, that he needs to conduct himself in a unique way, v'roshum b'koved rav, and be kind of imprinted in lots of honor. Bein b'lechtoi, whether in his walking, bein b'shivtoi, whether in his sitting, bein b'kumoi, or in his standing, right? B'diburoi, in his speech, u'b'chol ma'asov, in all his deeds, in all his actions, right? So he needs to, what's the word? Adorn all of his motions with some kind of a frill. Okay, so what's that? So what does that look like? So he says, "Lo yelech ela b'nachas goyel." If he's walking in extremely slow. A kevoy b'tzad gudloy. His heel is by his toe, big toe. Right? Lo yeshev ela parakta. Or whether he sits in a reclining manner. Lo yokum ela me'at k'nochash. When he gets up slow like a snake. Lo yidaber am hakoil. He doesn't speak to everyone. Ela im nichbedei ha'am, but rather with the most honored of people. The gam beineim, and even amongst them, lo yidaber ela mamorim ktzorim. He does not speak, but only short aphorisms. Kimamore hatrafim, like statements of trafim. What do you call it?
This is pagan divination.
Right, divinations, divinators. V'kol shar ma'asov, and all of his other actions, but me'oisav, with their motion, b'puloisav, in his actions, b'macholo, in his eatings, b'mishtav, in his drinkings, b'malbushav, in his wearings, b'chol drachim, in all his ways, yisnahig b'kveidus godol. Everything is done with great heaviness. Ki'ilu kol b'soroi oiferes, as if all his flesh is lead. V'chol atzomov evan, or his bones are stone, oichoil, or sand. Okay, that's the description. I mean, it's a wild description, very specific. I mean, would you have come up with this description of a Balgaiva? I wouldn't come up with a description like that of a Balgaiva, right? Meaning, when he talks about, let's say, Shakronim, right? Before he had the last thing I could remember that he discussed categories of it, right? So there was Emes or the Sheker, right? Emes versus Sheker. So he had like some guys who are just constant liars, then sporadic liars, and then let's say, you know, occasional flavor of lying, right? So over there, again, there's a division. You know, here's your spectrum called Sheker. Within the spectrum of Sheker, there's Shakronim, you know, 100%, 70%, let's say 30%, whatever it is. There was, that's what I'm saying, a timeless logic to it, right? Over here, this guy's weird. I mean, this is not, you know what I mean? So again, if I remind back to my only familiarity with the 1700s, and I'm thinking myself wigs and frills and little white socks with pointy shoes and fans or something like that, and okay, so then maybe this description starts making sense, right?
Yeah, I think so.
But then it comes down that he's speaking very specific times, you know. And it's hard for me to imagine that Ramchal, it's not like he only lived in one place. He traveled the world. He was in Italy, he was in Amsterdam, and he was in Eretz Yisrael. I'm sure he's seen, you know, if he was closed-minded, so to speak, to his experience in Padua, so maybe, but he's seen plenty of the world to know that there may be different expressions.
No, I don't think it's gone. It's just idea change. Like, so now somebody dress like Gucci and like brand stuff. So back then, it's the metal setup didn't change. It just the way the press changed. And now everybody's like, you know, this brand stuff like.
Right, but then why express in such a way that?
No, because that's what it was back then.
Yeah, but here
it just desire to show you off that you're important, like. That we have like royalty, wake up late, and like, that's how it was done to show that you're big guy. Now it's the same thing, you know, it's just done different way. But
okay, maybe you're right. Okay, I hear your thoughts. Okay, let's see if you're right. Let's keep going. Now we have another type of an expression, right? Another type of an expression of guy. Again, after he thinks that he deserves praise, v'rav hamaylos, and he has many milos, many outstanding qualities. So again, over here he doesn't mention miyuchad. Maybe that's a difference. I don't know. Tzorich sheyeh margiz haaretz. Therefore, he must be margiz haaretz. What's margiz haaretz? He has to shake the earth, but with anger. Margiz is specifically with anger, right? Shake the earth. I don't know. How do they translate?
Terrorize the world.
Terrorize? Okay, terrorize the world.
Yeah, that didn't change.
Right? So tzorich sheyeh margiz haaretz v'shehakol yirashim miponav, and everybody has to be dreaded from before him. Ki lo yeyois sheyehersu bnei odom ledaber emoy, because it's inappropriate that they will have the audacity to speak to him. Will levakesh v'menu dover, or even ask something of him. V'im yapilu la'alei selov, and if they do, dare to kind of rise up to him, yiv ahaleim b'koiloi, he will embarrass them with his voice. Uberuach sfosav, with the breath of his lips. Yehumem, he will terrorize them. Ba'anois lehem azois, because he will answer them with azos, with chutzpah. Uponav zoyfas, and his face will be filled with anger. B'chol eser b'chol shu'ah, every all moment and all time. Okay, so that's the second. Again, so the second Balgaiva is the terrorist, the angry guy. Again, what's my problem with it? Can't we mix the first two?
Right.
Why are these very different categories? Can they be the same category? why do these? You know what I'm saying?
No, it's a different behavior. One just showing off, him being important. The other one just tolerating people.
Right. So what
That's-
makes the first guy
Different, different flavor of Bulgaria.
right? So, I'm not sure if I fully understand these flavors. Okay, let's keep going. What? You don't mind.
It's very normal. Like one, he wants to pray, he's demanding praise, and he's making everybody to recognize, oh, look how the way he drives back, he walks, he's proud of importance, and he's trying to show that he's important in demanding recognition. The other one is just make everybody scared, so everybody afraid of him because, oh, where's my red button?
Right. So maybe again, from what you just said right now, actually, I just had an idea. So the first guy is trying to raise himself up above everybody else.
Yep.
The second guy is trying to put everybody else down in order, and as a result, rise up above everybody else. So there is a difference. That's to me the maybe is
One is passive, the other is aggressive.
yeah, right. The other one is right.
No, it's not actually putting him down, it's just making like just the main thing is there's no question asked. I'm the great, no more questions, that's it. No, I don't even have to put you down, just a great point, that's it. Just be afraid and be quiet.
The first guy,
The second one.
the second guy.
Yeah.
No, but
The classic Putin style, where's my red button? Like, his red button, shut up, that's it. He doesn't put anybody down, just
no,
do
he
whatever
says
I
over
want.
here. You talk to
Everybody
him,
shut up.
he will scream at you. I don't know.
Yep. But
Okay, let's see the third guy. V'yesh gei acher sheyachshav b'libo shekvar hu kol kach godol u'mechubad. There's another type of a bad guy, but he thinks that he is so great and so honored that it's physically impossible for his honor to be separated from him. And therefore he does not need it at all. And therefore to show everybody this, he will do things like an onav does. The yafriz al midoisav, and he will like go overboard on his midos. Leharois shiflus godol, to show a great lowliness. Ve'anova adein cheker, an extreme humility. V'li boy misnase b'kir boy lema, but his heart and is rising up inside himself, saying, "Ani kol kach ram, I am so lofty, ve'kol kach nichbad, and so honored. Shekvar eini tzarich l'koved, that I do not require any honor whatsoever. Ein li ela levater lov, I just need to completely like waste it away. Shekvar ravu etzli, because I have so much of it." Okay. That's the next guy. Let's see the connection to the next, because I don't know. See the difference in 3 and 4. Again, another fourth one. He wants to be appreciated a lot for his milas, and to be unique in his ways. It's not enough for him to be praised for all the great things that he has, that he thinks he has. So he wants that they further praise him, that he is the most humble of the most humble. Right? So not only does he want to be praised for being the great tennis player, he wants to be known as the great humble tennis player. Okay? I'm not sure, by the way, why tennis keeps popping into my head. It's just for some reason.
It's a good example.
For some reason, tennis maybe comes with a certain, you you don't get what's the word? Hockey players generally don't walk around being symbols of like Swiss watches, but tennis players do. It's something about tennis that comes with a certain guy. But in any case. Where was I? Yeah. So I'm not sure what's the difference between this guy and the previous guy. The previous guy. So let's just finish this guy first. He wants that they further increase betiloso in his praise. This guy takes pride in his humility. Okay?
Mhm.
This guy takes pride in his humility. V'roitze bekovod, and he wants to be honored al mashemare atzma bereich mimenu. On this that he shows himself running away from it. Right? He wants the kovod. Right? It's that famous story. The famous story was with a guy says the Rebbe goes to Rebbe like I want kovod. So what the Mishnah says. The Mishnah says, "Ezehu mechubed berech min hakoved." Right? Somebody who runs away from koved. So he says, "Okay, I'll try it." So he runs away from koved, and he says, "It didn't work." He says, "I did what you told me, and I'm still not being honored." He says, "Were you running away from koved?" He says, "Yes, but you were looking back to see if it's running after you." Right? Something along those lines. So this guy wants to be respected. So what's this? So the previous guy didn't care if he's respected or not. He's so certain that he's fully respected that he doesn't. So is that the only difference between the guy number 3 and the guy number 4? That the first guy thinks that he doesn't need covet at all because he's so certain that he has it, and the fourth guy wants the covet from his humility.
Mhm.
So again, let's read a little more. This type of a guy, he will place himself below those that are lower than him, harbe, even a lot, or even the most despicable, the lowest of the nation, because he wants to show with this how great his anova is. And he doesn't want any praise of greatness. And he will refuse all of his uplifting. But his heart says within him, Ein chacham v'onav kamoini b'chalor. There's no chacham, there's no wise person and a humble person like me in all of the land. So what's the difference between this guy? And it seems like he contradicted himself. Because when he introduced this number 4, he said, not only does he want to be praised for his, look what it says here. It says, it's not enough for him that the people should praise him for all the great things that he has. Ella, he wants to also be praised for his humility. So he wants both, right? He wants to be praised for his milas and for his humility. But then over here, towards the end, he says, he doesn't want any expressions, any what's the word, descriptions of greatness. And he will deny all of the iluyim, all of the milas. That's not what he said before. I'm a little bit confused by this. So meaning what he seems to be saying is, but because he follows it up with the next, but but his heart says ein chacham, right? Of kamoni. So he, in his heart, he's praising himself for both the milas and the humility. He refuses the milas from other people only so they could, you're so smart. Oh, no, I'm not. No, you're so smart. No, stop it, I'm not. It's like, right? Okay, so maybe that's the difference. Again, that's the difference between the first guy and the second guy, the third guy and the fourth guy. So okay, so what I see here again, possibly that's why maybe it is timeless in some sense, because you have 2 Balei Gaiva that are very Gaivadik, and you have 2 Balei Gaiva that are very Onav-like, right? So it seems like, there's these 4 that are divided, 2 that are divided into 4, right? You have the what's the word? The extraordinary Balgaiva and the angry Balgaiva, and you have the Onav Balgaiva, and then one Onav Balgaiva who denies that he could lose his honor, and the other one who wants to build, wants to use a Nova as a way to build his honor. Right? So again, so maybe there is some kind of a map here that's very general. I'm still not fully. Okay, just keep these four in mind because they're going to come to play again when we get to Anova. We're gonna have to come back here. We're going to have to come back here. Okay, because anyways, we'll see. Okay, let's move on. So now we fine. V'amnam, that's what we're up to. V'amnam game ke'ela. These types of balei gaiva. Apal pish lechoyre marim atzmam am novim. Again, he's going back on the last two, I presume. Lo yibotzer mikshoyles lehem. Okay, there's no limit of stumbling blocks for them. Shebili di Yosef, that without their knowledge, tiyem is gales gavosim kelahavok hayotzim ben acharos. Their gaiva will show its face like flames that appear between the charosim, between the clay. Ukvar moshel chachom mizachon levracha. Moshel says the sages gave a good moshel. Lebayas molei teven. You have a house which is full of teven, of hay. V'hoya bebayis choyrin, and there are cracks in the house. V'hoya teven nichnas behen, and so the hay begins to stick through the cracks. So it starts, after days, it starts coming out. So everybody knows that the house is full of hay. Right? Again, a beautiful mashal, and this is what people don't realize, right? Is that in many of our intentions, which we try to hide, and try to say, oh, we're going to be such a novim, and we're going to show each other, like we're going to express ourselves as an onav, but everybody around us sees that we're just using anova as a way to get, to get this praise, right? So again, it's like this.
This is number 4.
What? This is number 4. This is number 4. I mean, I guess he's saying number 5. Number 3 also is going to be. People will recognize what he's, that he's not as secure in his gaiva as he thinks he is, right? His inner insecurity will eventually shine through. Okay, similar distinction, you cannot continuously conceal yourself. Okay, you cannot continuously conceal yourself. That's a beautiful. To me, that's a beautiful line. Right, and eventually your wrong intention will be apparent, will be recognizable from amidst your actions. And however, their ways of anova is pasul, v'shiflus meruma, and their lowliness is meruma, means fake. Now there's the 5th one. That their gaiva is more buried in their hearts. It doesn't really come out, expresses itself in action, meaning whether it's extreme anger or extreme, extreme honor, or some kind of unique ways, or extreme anova. It doesn't come out with these weird actions. But people just think of themselves as great sages, right? This is like a Dunning-Kruger of sorts, right? Yoidei hadvarim la'mitam. They know the truth behind things. And not many can become as wise as them. Al Kain was, therefore, as a result, what's the problem? The problem is they don't really hear others, right? They don't really place their heart there. Okay, because they think because if it's difficult for me to understand it, certainly will not be easy for others, right? So if I can't figure this out, you definitely can't figure it out. So why do I have to listen to you?
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, so this one. Okay, this one personally, this is the first Balgaiva that I could relate to. And whatever there appears to be clear, and I'm sorry, he's still talking about the alternative, those people that try to present an alternative view that seems clear to them. It's because you didn't think about this enough. V'sofik ein Islam al svarosim. No, I don't know if I'm reading this right. I didn't read this right. So therefore, what they decided is clear. As a result, they will not listen to those that have another opinion from them, whether Rishonim or Achronim. They therefore have no doubt about their own line of reasoning. Okay, so again, this last fifth one, I feel this one. Kol Eila told us a gaiva mashiva chachamim ochar. These are expressions of gaiva that make chachamim regress. Vedaitam mesakelas, and their knowledge becomes dumber. Mesira lev rosh hachachma, and it takes away the heart of the real sages. V'alki talmidim, and even students shelo shimshu kol tzarkum, that barely just got out of, so to speak, of their schooling. Shikumat shenifkachu einayim, they just barely opened their eyes. Kvar chacham echachomim shovim lahem believim. They already think of themselves as sages of sages. Val kulam ne'amar, and of all of these, it says, Toivas Hashem kol gvalev. Abomination of God is anybody who raises his heart. Umikulam, and from all of these, tzorich sheyinoke haroitze b'midas Nekiyus. And from all of this, a person who wants to acquire the midah of Nekiyus, you have to cleanse himself. V'yeda v'yovin ke'ena gaiva like ivoroin mamish. So this is the key line, that gaiva is nothing but true blindness, real blindness. So it's not an accurate self-assessment. Asher ein seichel adam royo chesron noisav. Why is it blindness? Because, why would you say it's blindness? Why would you say it's blindness? So I would have said, why would I say it's blindness? Maybe I have an accurate self-assessment, but it's blindness because I'm not sure. Let's see what he says. He says it's blindness because asher ein seichel adam royach esrei noisov. The mind of that person does not see his shortcomings. Umakir pchisuso, it does not recognize his loneliness. Shilu hayochel lirois hoyamakir emes, because if he would be able to see and recognize the truth, hoyasor umisrachek mikol hadrachim haroim mikolam ha'eli, he would distance himself from these wrong and destructive, just kind of not destructive, but lowly expressions of these ways. Harchi gadol, great distance. We're going to discuss this more when we discuss Anova. It's such a difficult thing to acquire. It's placed in the words of Rabbi Pinchas as one of the last. Okay, so that's it. That's the end of Gaiva. That's the end of Gaiva. So he doesn't. Do we understand why he thinks that it's blindness? It's blindness. My assumption is, right now, I'm going to give what my working assumption is, meaning, okay, let's say I go into kindergarten, right, and I play basketball and I win. Okay, and I walk around as I am the champion. Wow, look at me. I beat every kindergarten kid. I mean, that would be ridiculous, right? That would be utterly ridiculous, right? So in other words, if you want an accurate assessment would require, it's so late. An accurate assessment would require to broaden your horizons. You might be the best in the world today. Tomorrow there's going to be somebody better than you. Or yesterday or whatever. Things change, things evolve, things whatever. You open your eyes a little bigger. Just because you think you're great because you beat everybody in chess, that's wonderful. But look, here's a machine that could beat you in 2 seconds.
Well, just because as you said in the beginning, like it's everything from Hashem. Like you was one reason you're so great because it was meant to.
Right.
So if you look at the big picture, it's not that you born at that particular period of time because of the big picture. So it's
Right. So that's why
you're just a piece of big puzzle. So nobody. So if as long as you don't recognize it.
Right. So exactly. So in other words, Gaiva is a matter of perspective, and Anova is a matter of perspective. It's just the question is, which is the more accurate perspective? And what we're saying is that the Anova is the more accurate perspective because it takes a bigger worldview. Anyways, okay. Anyways, one of my favorite, I always come back to this. One of my favorite pages on Wikipedia is this concept of. It's called illusory superiority. Illusory superiority. It's a concept again of this, of where people in general, it comes down to the fact that people have a very people don't have a good ability in self-assessing themselves properly. Right? People generally either overshoot their ability. That's generally right. For example, if they ask 10 people in the room, and ask each person, are you above average intelligence of this room or below average intelligence of this room? Something like 5% of people say that they're above average intelligence, right? Which obviously can't be because it's just be 50-50, right? So you can't have 85%, right? So, right, and there's the Dunning-Kruger effect where people usually in the beginning they overestimate their abilities. People who are professionals generally underestimate their ability. Again, this maybe Dunning-Kruger doesn't exist. Maybe it's a mathematical fallacy. There's a whole discussion about that. But the point is, there's a line there that says that in the olden days, psychologists used to believe that accurate self-assessment is necessary for a healthy mindset. But nowadays, so psychologists believe that it's more healthy for a person to slightly overestimate themselves. So then you're more healthy if you overestimate your abilities and think. Anyways, okay.